Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
Man, the beautiful thing about being able to do this podcast on location, we are here at the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. We'll have the Beckles and Recher podcast coming up after this. It's been a crazy day so far, man. I got to tell you, it's been running around like a maniac, but I am here. I am with you. Hope everybody is well. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms today: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. 3 more shows, and we are counting today as one of those 3 before the end of the year. We will be live at Benchmark International Arena tomorrow ahead of the Lightning's matchup. So happy Wednesday, happy hump day to everybody. And then Friday, of course, the top 20 sports stars of Tampa Bay. That should be a fun show, and we'll have a litany of guests there as well. I always want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. If you want to join in on the conversation, just click on the link right there in the chat. StreamYard. Oh, whether you're on your phone, your laptop, StreamYard.com/SU2BGUS3WA. I had an event this morning over at Furman Chevy of Brandon, Furman Mazda of Brandon. So really good time with Brad Wise and their new guy, Alex Flores, over there. So a lot of fun. Big shout out to Melanie Martin and everybody over at CMG for hooking me up. And spending some good time over there. But I'm here at the Dignitary Cafe in the room. That's all the crazy bright lights. The same room that we do our Beckles and Recher podcast. So our Beckles and Recher podcast will come up around 3:15 today. We got a power hour for you guys, and it is Wednesday, so you know what that means. Our pal Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, will join us to talk all things Bolts. And I want to get into something that he and I were talking about the other night in the press box about the preventative measures that the Tampa Bay Lightning have taken with their players, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And the players I'm alluding to are Curtis Douglas and also with Scott Sabrin. If those guys, in my opinion, if they're not being physical, if they're not fighting, why the hell are they out there? Because I don't see that they were a deterring factor whatsoever against the Florida Panthers. And I love Dougie and Scott. They're great dudes. But, I mean, we got to figure that out. So we'll talk to Double E about that. He's going to join us at 2:15 tomorrow. Or 2:15 today. Tomorrow we'll have our normal schedule as the doc will join us at 12:30. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez from Ever Health. It'll be our final chat with him in 2025. And then Everyday Eddie and Cena will join us at 1:30 as well. A big shout out to Benny for being here. Our guy, Honest Hammer. Let's not forget our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956 for all your residential and commercial needs. And then, of course, Ever Health, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. The new wave and the new age of healthcare. Check them out. TT Hagel out of practice again. We have got to retaliate against those effing. I like how you did not put the F word, but you put the S word. That's hilarious. My guy, Eddie, let's have a good show today. Janet Best, one of the first ladies of the Wrecking Crew. Appreciate you guys. Congrats on your Knicks NBA Cup win. Brunson was the only thing that did not hit on my parlay. Knicks covered the 2.5. Wild one and Sharp one. Yeah, I'm over the moon when it comes to the Knicks and their win in the NBA Cup. Listen, and I knew it was going to happen. We see people today talking about, oh, well, you know, this is just a no-name tournament and this isn't the same as of course it's not the same as an NBA championship. But if you listen to me on the show, why is this a bad thing? Why is this a bad thing to care? And I just, it's kind of a weird thing that we're in, I think, in this world now where, look at my brothers here. How about that? Ryan Recher in the house. Knicks, baby. I like that. Knicks, 6'5", 4'2". Where the hell did those numbers come from? 6'5". Did you try to do 6'5", 4'3", and your finger got messed up? But I'll say this about, caring. It's like cool not to care. And yeah, it all goes back to what our dad would tell us. Treat people that way you want to be treated, man. I had a couple of rough experiences this morning with people, and just such a pain. Hi. Such a pain of everything that's going on. Just be good to people, man. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And it's not a bad thing to care. Not. And for the NBA Cup, I mean, you look at this situation. What is the thing that people get on NBA players for? Load management, that they don't care. These guys do care. I mean, look at the sideline. Look at how many fans, Knicks fans, traveled to Vegas for the semifinals and the finals. It was good basketball. It was some good stuff. Spurs, Thunder, Knicks, Magic in the semifinals, and then Knicks, Spurs, with the Spurs having the lead at the half. I mean, isn't that what you want? Isn't that what you want? You want these professional athletes to care. If you're investing your time, your money, your energy, don't you want them to give a shit? That's one of the big things that people talk about when it comes to the NBA and why they don't like it. Well, all right, here's the opposite of it. These guys really did care. And again, if you need some kind of analogy, if you need another sport to compare it to, if soccer does a great job with it. And again, go watch the celebration from Crystal Palace beating Manchester City, the best team in Europe the last decade, in the FA Cup final. Tell me it doesn't mean anything to them. Is Crystal Palace ever going to win the Premier League? Probably not in our lifetime. Maybe once. Them winning the FA Cup is everything to them. One of the oldest sports competitions in the world. The NBA Cup is going to grow. And the fact that the Lakers were able to win it and the Knicks were able to win, it can only be a good thing. Only be a good thing. Yeah, it's a midseason tournament. Is it the same as an NBA championship? No, but who cares? You get these guys playing. We bitch and moan about exhibition games. This isn't even an exhibition because the games count towards their regular season standings. So they do mean something. Everybody always bitches and moans about nobody cares about the NBA All-Star game. Look at how little they try in the NHL All-Star game. The Pro Bowl is such a joke, right? This is the opposite of that. And if you're bitching and moaning and complaining about it, it says more about you than the actual competition. This is a great thing for the NBA. This is a great thing for sports. I wish more teams. I wish there was mid-season tournaments for every sport. What's the harm? The games count towards your regular season status. It makes the guys care more. It's a financial incentive for the guys at the end of the bench that are making not as much as their counterparts. I saw Tyler Kolek and Jordan Clarkson. Both those guys are making $2-3 million a year. And listen, I'm talking comparable to the people that they're playing with, not compared to you and me. But when you're playing on a team with guys that are making 20, 30, 40 million, you're making $1, $2, $3 million, and then you go win the NBA Cup and you make $500,000. That's a big deal. You're talking about making a fifth, the sixth, the seventh of your pay in one night because you won. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see any issue with the NBA Cup. I hope they continue to do it, and I hope other sports follow suit. All right, Buccaneers, Panthers matchup on Sunday. This is huge. We heard from Baker Mayfield today, and we heard from Todd Bowles today. I got to be completely transparent and honest with you. And listen, I appreciate everything that Baker's done. I appreciate everything that Todd has done. But I can't be the only one that's thinking this. I don't give a shit what those guys have to say. Nothing. I don't care. It means absolutely nothing. At this point of the season, what they say holds absolutely no weight whatsoever. It doesn't matter. What they do on Sunday, what they do down the stretch in these final three games will tell us everything we need to know. Actions speak louder than words, and nobody's actions will speak louder over this last portion of the season than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Out of any team in the National Football League, you kind of have an idea of where everything else is slated for. Nobody is in the position right now in the NFL that the Bucs are in. A team that has won the division, a team that is still in the playoff hunt, with a team with a head coach where people are still not all the way in. We've been having this conversation for 6 months. Remember, we had Ira Kaufman on yesterday. If you missed that chat, it's up on our YouTube channel. But Ira and I spoke about this before the season even started. Why don't people buy Todd Bowles? How come people are not all in on Todd as the head coach of this team? Well, those questions have been answered the last 6 weeks of this season. And Baker could say, oh, there's not pointing fingers. And Baker said that today. Baker said these two things. One, don't blame Todd, blame me. Okay, admirable. You are partially to blame, but you still scored 28 points. That should be enough to win. It should be. Imagine if those 0-2 Buccaneer teams, the 0-2 Buccaneer defenses got 28 points. They probably would have won 3 championships in a row. And the other thing that he said was that there's no finger pointing going on with this team. You can say that. But my friend, when I see Mike Evans walk from the field down the tunnel and say 3rd and 28, 3rd and 28, 3rd and 28, you're pointing your finger at something specific, and that's the defense. He's not in a position where he's saying, we got to be better. We, I, the offense. He's clearly pointing at the defense loud enough for all of us to hear it. I mean, Kyle Berger from ABC Action News, he was the guy that he had it. And I watched it. I saw it with my own two eyes. And I'm not looking and I'm not trying to bash Mike. This is not the point. But if you don't think that there are some side eye viewing of what is going on with this defense, you're just lying to yourself. And if Baker, you want to say something like that because you want to kind of dispel some of these rumors and you want to act like there's not more of a problem than there is, then you're probably doing the right thing as a leader of this team. But we're not stupid and we're not blind. We've watched this defense time after time after time again come up short this season. And people are telling me, oh, Tyke Smith is coming back and Savassi Dennis is coming back. Great. What am I supposed to say to that? Tyke's played well. Savassi has not. Getting these guys back is going to do what? You're going to go against a better team in Carolina than you did Atlanta and New Orleans. And you're getting a guy back that wasn't playing well when he was healthy in the first place. I don't know what we should be encouraged about. I don't quite understand that. The time for talking is done. I'm going to do this. I don't care. I don't think anybody in Buck Nation cares. And I've been watching the Raise the Flags documentary on Amazon, and it's just such an incredible story of where this team started and where this team is at right now. And to see all the different backstories of, Leroy Selman and Doug Williams, and then going into the more modern era and seeing Vinny Testaverde and seeing Steve Young, and then seeing how this team was able to go out and draft Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks, and how their defense time and time again was coming up big and their offense was just futile. The shoe is on the other foot now. It's the offense, even though they've had their struggles that I think at times you're like, all right, they can get 28, especially with all the wide receivers being healthy and the 3 running backs, even though I don't think Josh Grizzard has done a great job at all. The defense is what this entire franchise has been built on. That's the one thing, the underlying sentiment that I have gleaned from this whole documentary, Raise the Flags, is that the offense has just kind of been, it was a Spurrier here and a Vinny here and a Brad Johnson here and a Sean King here and a Tom Brady here and a Baker Mayfield here. But the tried and true, the bread and butter of this team, of this organization, of this franchise is the defense. And I think that's part of the reason why it hurts so much too, and why people want Todd gone, why it was so easy to get rid of Lovie Smith after a couple of seasons, because you know what the defense is supposed to look like. And it doesn't look good. This defense does not look good. Do you have faith that they're going to win in Carolina against the Panthers? I don't. Would you bet your house? No, I would not. So we'll talk more Buccaneers a little bit later. Again, we are at the Dignitary Cafe. We'll have the Beckles and Recher podcast at 3:15. Good luck to USF in the Cure Bowl today at 5 o'clock. That should be, be interesting without Coach Golish, without Byron Brown, and then basketball, men's basketball in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. Big day for USF athletics. But we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk some Tampa Bay Lightning hockey. And who do we do it with? It's our good pal, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. What's going on, brother? How are you?
It's tiring. It's always a tiring time of year.
Yeah, buddy. What was the big update from practice today? Uh-oh. Are you frozen or am I frozen? Please hold. Are you good? Hold on. Hold on, pal. All right. You there? Okay, there you go.
Yep.
You good? Okay, good.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, so what was the update from practice today?
So no Brandon Hagel. We'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
Andre Vasilevsky went through a full practice, and we chatted him up a little bit. He sounds like he's ready to go. Obviously with the Brandon Halverson reassignment yesterday, and Vazzy being activated off of injured reserve, kind of leans.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ryan McDonough is the other big one. A full skate, as he said, it's the longest skate he's gone through since the injury. He didn't say he's coming back, but things are trending, and it looks like he's probably in line to return tomorrow. So that's a good sign. He has not yet been activated off of IR. Last I looked, that'll probably take place tomorrow morning as they send Scott Sabourin back to open up a roster spot. So gives you the indication that he's ready to return as well. And then obviously the Hagel situation, just, you have to monitor it, right? We all saw what happened in the game the other night, and the fact that he didn't finish. To me, the big thing was, by the time we got into the locker room, Jay, Hagel was still in uniform.
Yeah.
And that play happened relatively early in the third period. So the fact that he was still in uniform, he had his skates off, but the fact that he was still in uniform by the time we got into the locker room after the game, and that's a while, right? Like, it's a while for him to be evaluated. So obviously he didn't skate today, but I guess the good news there is that Rob Zettler told us that he's basically day to day, and they'll see how he feels tomorrow. So the fact that he hasn't been ruled out for tomorrow as of yet is a positive sign. But again, we'll have to continue monitoring it.
Let's get right into the Hagel. I mean, the chicken wing that Seth Jones had out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just tale as old as time, it seems like, with this situation with the Florida Panthers. It wasn't the most violent hit. It wasn't one of those where he was coming off the top rope like Macho Man Randy Savage back in the day. But it's the same thing over and over again. And I don't know. Part of me is like, all right, well, what's the league supposed to do? What is the team supposed to do? Like, what do we make of this entire thing? Are they supposed to take a run at Seth Jones, or like where do we go from here? How does this stop? How does it end?
I don't know. First of all, I don't get the Panthers' infatuation with Brandon Hagel. Okay, fine. Did he hit Sasha Barkov? He did. Was it an interference call? It was. Did he get punished for it? He did. But why? This is, like, I wrote about this. The Florida Panthers have no honor and they have no code. They don't play with honor, and they don't play by the code. The code says this should be over. Aaron Ekblad leveled him in Game 4 in the series against the Panthers. Took him out. Went headhunting and found his target and took him out. That should be the end of it. But it's not. Are they pissed off because of the comments he made after the season when he said he was willing to get his ass kicked for it?
Right.
Like that's the code. And not only are the Panthers still targeting Brandon Hagel, I mean, he's taken a headshot in every game since. It's only been 2, right? He didn't play in the final preseason game. He missed the game down in Sunrise last month, but he's taken a headshot in every game since that Barkov hit. And last I checked, Sasha Barkov was okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's out this year, has nothing to do with the hit from Brandon Hagel. They went on to win a Stanley Cup. Why are they so infatuated with Brandon Hagel? I don't understand it. And yet they continue to target it. And, when, and I know things look different in slow-mo than they do in live action, but just like Mikkola on Gensel, Jones on Hagel, they literally pull the elbow up and lead with it. They lead with the elbow. That's intentional. And the fact that the league continues to go, it's no big deal. It's a problem. It's a problem. And the fact that the Panthers will not answer for these hits is even worse, right? Sabourin tried to get Mikkola to drop the gloves late in the game. He said no. Just like Ekblad refused to drop the gloves in the game in Sunrise. Same thing with AJ Greer. refused to, he took the sucker punch. Yeah, okay, Greer fought Radish in the game against, the preseason game where he did the sucker punches to Hagel, right? So the code says it's over, but the Panthers don't play by a code.
Right.
They have thrown the code out the window, but they don't want to answer for their play. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The only way to deal with this is fight fire with fire. You come in, you find Sam Reinhart in a corner, come up with the elbow and see what the league does.
Right.
Do it in the same manner in which the Panthers continue to get away with it and see what the league was and handles it from that standpoint. And then, and then figure it out. But, they meet again in another week and a half, right? A week from Saturday, first game after Christmas. We'll see what the Lightning lineup looks like that night. But to me, that's the only way that you can handle this, because the league is doing nothing about it. And the referees aren't even calling penalties on it. There was a referee right there when Mikkola took an elbow to Jay Gensel. And if you get Jay Gensel to fight, you've really done something.
Right.
He is the most mild-mannered guy on the ice. First career fight, probably ever. He probably didn't even fight in his junior hockey days, right? That's just not the way. But he went after a guy who's 5 inches taller than him, has a lot of they're just sick of it. And I'm curious to see how the Lightning are going to handle this on the game down in Sunrise on the 27th, because to me, if nobody's going to help you out and protect you, in this situation, you have to deal with it yourself. And, if it means another suspension's coming for the Lightning, I think they're willing to deal with that. But again, that's my feeling. That's not from talking to anybody, but that seems to be the only way that you're going to get anybody's attention in this deal until the Panthers stop, because it ain't just the Lightning they do this to.
Do you think that this is kind of occupying space between the Lightning's ears when they play the Panthers? Because I feel like they're gun shy in the game. They don't know how to handle it. It's almost like an awkward conversation with the in-laws, right? You don't know when to step in. They don't know whether to just play the game. They don't know whether to be super aggressive or I just feel like with the game the other night until late in the second period, even though they played well in the first after giving up the goals, it was more like the run of play rather than them headhunting or anything, playing overly physical. I just feel like the Lightning are kind of indifferent right now. Do you see that same thing?
Well, they're trying to be on the line, right? They're trying to play within the line. They're trying to play with honor. They're trying to play within the code, right? And that's why Sabourin asked several times to several guys if they want to fight. So they've tried to handle this the right way. Are they inside the Lightning's head a little bit? I mean, I don't think so. There's no doubt that this hangs over every meeting between these teams right now, for sure. It's certainly the game down in Sunrise. It was, George Peros was in the building that night, right? Rob Schick, is one of the senior supervisors of officials, was in the house that night. So obviously there was a lot of attention on it. And you could feel the tension. You could sense it, but that turned into a pretty good hockey game.
Yeah, it did.
Right. So it didn't mess with the Lightning's head that night, and they won that game. Right. You got goals from Emil Lilleberg and Jack Finley. His first career goal ended up being the difference in that game, and you beat the Panthers in that one. You can always play the what if game, but if they don't give up that shorthanded goal and the way that they played the second half of that first period, how does that game play? So I don't think they're in their heads and taking them away from playing their game, but it's definitely an undercurrent. It's there. It's right there. It's just below the surface. And one spark is going to be something that sets this off. And we haven't seen it yet. I think internally, the Lightning are sick and tired of taking the crap. So
we talked about this a little bit the other night, but we didn't really get into it because I knew we were going to talk about it today. Because I mentioned Sabourin and Douglas, no hits through 2 periods. And you said, Jay, they're preventative, and which you're not wrong. But my whole thing is that if you're playing those guys and keeping the guys on the roster, we were talking about this in the press box, Douglas is on this team because of November 15th or whatever, right? This is why we didn't see Jack Finley. This is why, right? We spoke about the importance of that game in November. And then again, the other night here in December against the Florida Panthers. But if those guys are not going to be playing a physical game, if they're not going to be able to score goals, if the other team's not engaging with them, do the Lightning need to change their approach a little bit? Because even though they are preventative, I feel like it's more of a reaction move rather than them imposing their will on the Panthers. Is that kind of the balance that they're trying to find, of kind of being ready for whatever happens, but also kind of staying true to what makes them successful?
And again, they're trying to play the game within the lines, right? The code, playing with some honor, whatever it is. The Lightning are trying to play that way. And that's why, and look, Sabourin got himself a 4-game suspension because he went outside the line, and the league punished him for it, even though, the Panthers basically started everything with Greer sucker punching Brandon Hagel 3 times. But now we know the difference. Glove on, glove off. There's a big difference in how the league perceives it. So maybe that's the line you have to kind of be on. And if you're going to deliver a punch like that, do it with your gloves on. Douglas, when he went after Tom Wilson, he got himself an instigator penalty. He put his team behind gave Washington a power play in what was a close game there in Washington as well. So there is a fine line. And, I felt that if the Lightning don't make that a 4-2 game in the third period, if it stays 4-0, I don't know where things could have went. But like if Sabourin just goes and grabs a guy, well, what's going to happen? He's going to get himself a longer suspension. Right. So there's the league has already put the line on the Lightning. They haven't put one on the Panthers, and that's the problem. And the Panthers are doing it, if you want to say, within the parameters of the game, but so was the Hagel hit. The Hagel hit was in the parameters of the game. It was just Barkov never touched the puck. If Barkov touches the puck, that's a great hit. And we're talking about, wow, what a hit by Brandon Hagel.
Right.
He didn't, and it's his responsibility not to know the difference there, for sure. But that's in the run of play. Some of these things that the Panthers are doing is within the game, but it's not within the run of play.
When you look at these two teams, and again, they're going to be playing next week, do the Lightning have to do they have to push? Do they, like you said, you're trying to fight fire with fire? Does it have to come from a different source? Does it have to come? I know it's kind of weird, from like a Sorelli or somebody like that. We just saw it with Gensel and Mikkola. And what did the Lightning do to change it then? Like you just said, fire with fire. But aside from that, you just have to beat them? Like, what do you do? It's much easier said than done, right?
Sure it is. But like the Lightning did beat them.
Mm-hmm.
They beat them last month. Like they went down to Sunrise with all that tension in that game and beat them in what was a very tightly contested defensive game, right? And again, the 2 shorthanded goals put them behind early, and it's just a lot of catch up they have to do. They couldn't do it first game back from a road trip. I know the Panthers were at the end of their road trip. The 2 points are there. They're important. They're division games. I mean, think about the difference from the game the other night. And, Florida gets 2 points closer, and the Lightning can't make the separation from the Panthers, so it keeps them close. So I just think, I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is, other than you have to find ways to, if they're going to pick on your top guys, you got to pick on their top guys, right? You have to find a way to, and I'm not an old school hockey kind of guy, right? There's a lot of things I wish were different about the game that are still there from the old school settings, but you almost have to have an old school mentality here. And
but
John,
does it make it harder? Does it make it harder, because their guys that do it are top 6 guys? Like, it just seems like Kachuk and Marchand and Bennett, like those guys are top 6, top 9 guys. So they can kind of do that in the middle. Like if you're putting the Douglas line out there, you're putting them out there knowing that, you might give something up as far as defensively because they're not as talented as some of these other guys. So is it easier for the Panthers to kind of play that game because some of those guys that are doing this are either defensemen or guys that are top dudes that are going to be out there anyway?
Sure. Right. Because they're going to get their ice time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because the thing is too, like we're seeing Carter Verhaeghe throw dirty hits. Carter Verhaeghe, right? He was here, man. He was the nicest guy in the world. He
not anymore.
You get into a culture of a team and a culture of a locker room, and you kind of get wrapped up in all of it. And it's easier for the Panthers to do that because Mikkola plays big minutes, Bennett plays big minutes. Kachuk obviously is a top line guy. Verhaeghe's a top 6 guy. Like they have guys that do it because they're out there more often. So the opportunity is more, right? So, I mean, look, Cirelli tried to stand up during the playoffs last year, and he was the one getting penalized for it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, there's a different line for one team versus the other, and that's part of the problem here in trying to solve the solution. Is what's good for one team is not good for the other, and that makes it harder for the Lightning to find out a way for them to get their pound of flesh, so to speak, without crossing a line, because their line is different than what their opponent's is.
Or to just finish it, right? Or to just be like, all right, put it behind us.
Yeah.
Speaking of putting it behind, let's go Oliver Bjorkstrand next. I don't see it. I don't see it. 4 goals, I think, in 33 something games. They're putting him with Point and Gensel now, and he's getting different opportunities. And he just does not look comfortable at all, man. I don't know what is it going to take for us to see the real Carter Verhaeghe.
You mean Oliver Bjorkstrand?
I mean Oliver Bjorkstrand. You got Verhaeghe on the brain now. Oliver Bjorkstrand, yes.
Confidence, right? Like, he had the big game against Jersey, the 2 goals and the assist in the game against Jersey. But what I've seen out of Oliver, especially in the power play, I mean, we talked about it. Nikita Kucherov can be very intimidating to play with.
Right.
He's so demanding, and some guys' personalities sometimes don't rise up when they get challenged, maybe the way certain guys will challenge. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but Oliver does have sort of a quiet sort of disposition, right? And I remember somebody saying that he was famously, when he was named to the All-Star game, he had like no emotional reaction, right? So that's just who he is. It's just his personality. But what I'm seeing from him in the he's snapping a shot off. So it's a snapping one-timer. It's not a rare back and fire at one-timer, which is his strength. That's his strength. And he's not in the bumper spot. He was in the bumper spot before Braden Point came back. They sent him back out there. But, like the Gensel power play goal in Jersey was because of one of those quick snapshots. Ilya Sorokin absolutely robbed Bjorkstrand in the game against the Islanders. Right, absolutely robbed him with a blocker save. So it's there. It's starting to show. I know. Certainly, I have the conversations when I come home, and certainly I see it on social media. Right? Yeah, he's being paid $5 million to score goals, and he's only got 4. I get it. But like I said, his personality is a little, low key. And I don't know if you're going to bring a personality out of him, but I think you're starting to see, some confidence return in his game. You just need to see it 5-on-5 as well. And that's where the problem really lies. And, Chief said it. Once he saw that they finally put him in more of a top 6 role and playing with Point and Gensel, he thinks that this is going to be something to unlock Oliver Bjorkstrand. And it's only been a couple games.
Better hope so. That's for sure. Nick Paul was playing on that 4th line with Douglas and with Sabrin. Is that really the best utilization of where Nick Paul is at? Like, ideally, if you had Nick Paul on your team, you would think he's 2nd line center, 3rd line center. I think he's better in the middle than he is on the wing. You have the most ideal, probably 2nd line center in the game, probably with Anthony Cirelli right now. But if he's playing with Kucherov, like, where does that whole thing go? Like, I don't know if Nick Paul playing on the 4th line with Douglas and Sabrin is where you want to go. And I know Coop doesn't like to number the lines, but they're the ones that give us the sheet, and that's the 4th line on there. So what do you make of how they're utilizing Nick Paul in that spot?
Well, he's obviously an ideal 3rd line center, right? There's no doubt that I think that's his strength, because he's versatile. He can take on, matchups if you need him to, but right now, if you look at the way the roster is put together, like the Gord, Jurgensen's, Holmberg line has been very good. Like, you look at their numbers, like their advanced numbers and everything else, they're usually the best line on the ice in terms of their matchup situations, right? They don't score a ton of goals, but boy, they spend a lot of time in the offensive zone. So if that's your quote unquote 3rd line, I mean, Braden Point's back, so your top 2 centers are Anthony Cirelli and Braden Point. Nick Paul is not replacing either of those 2 guys. certainly we saw when he came back, he played a little second line wing, and he can play the wing. He's been face-off wise, he's probably been their most consistent guy since he's come back, which we expect that out of him. Playing with Douglas and Sabrin, and look, Sabrin went back, so he won't be there tomorrow. I would assume, Gonsalves and James were the two that sat out the other night. So one of those two guys draws back in if Hagel is healthy enough to play. Like, I just don't know where else you find a way to put him on a line that he's going to replace somebody that he's better than. And that's not a knock on Nick Paul. It's the wingers. I mean, certainly the wingers have something to say about that in terms of who they play with. But like you say, it's not the best situation, but who does he replace? It's like having the Team Canada discussion. Right. Okay, this guy was left out. Who's he replacing? Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's the conversation that's always going to happen with all-star games, and with the Olympic rosters are going to start coming out here in the next couple of weeks. It's always going to be about who didn't. Okay, if this guy's in, who's out? So that's the question I ask you. If he's there, who's out? Whose spot does he take and bump down the lineup?
Yeah, and I think
Bjorkstrand.
Yeah, I think that's just ideally you would.
We've seen that.
Yeah, I think ideally we would want that Gord line to be the fourth line, right? And you would want two more offensively powered guys to play with Nick Paul on the third line. We're just not necessarily seeing that right now, so that kind of hurts with this team. And hopefully, when Hagel gets back and these guys get fully healthy and we see all these offensive players will be in good shape. You mentioned the Olympics there. We're seeing more and more people put out these hypothetical rosters, and I put something out on Twitter yesterday. If Cirelli and Hagel weren't on this one roster at all, and I'm just like, okay. Take me through that. Could it be Hagel and not Cirelli? Could both of those guys miss, or do you think that they'll both be on there? Because I think, again, you were the first guy to say last year, like, I think they can make the team. I don't see how, with their coach being the coach, Julian Brisebois part of the Brain Trust, and those guys playing such a predominant role in the Four Nations gold medal win. It'd be one thing if they were on that Four Nations team, and like they didn't play well or you didn't see them a lot, but like, you saw them playing with you saw Hagel playing with McDavid sometimes. Like, you saw them out there against the Team USA power play. So like, I find it funny that they like, oh, well, we got to get Celebrini in there. You got to get Bedard in there. You got to get, Tom Wilson in there. And it's just like, why wouldn't you put arguably the best penalty killing duo in the game that play for the head coach? Why wouldn't they be on the roster? What do you think? And taking away what we see everybody else, what do you think they're going to do?
I think they're taking them both.
Yeah.
They're going to be their top PK duo, right? That's what they're going to be there for. Now, they haven't been as dynamic this year. Cirelli missed some time. Hagel's missed a couple of games, but you're starting to see it here late. They're starting to kind of get that chemistry back on the PK and creating some opportunities. I think people are, again, we've had this conversation, but I think they're misguided in their thought process and how you construct an international roster like this. You're not taking the 20 best players. Mm-hmm. You're taking the 20 best to fit your team. Like I said, look, I think Celebrini, because like what Celebrini does, like you watch that guy play, and I don't watch him a ton, but the one area, and John Cooper is big on this, do you win your puck battles? Mm-hmm. Can you go along the boards and win your puck? Macklin Celebrini wins puck battles, right? So on top of the offensive skill and everything else he has, yeah, I could see him making his team. Bedard is now injured. Word is a separated shoulder, but he's 19 years old.
Right.
They're not taking a 19-year-old just because he's fourth or fifth in the league in scoring. You have plenty of guys whose job it is to score goals in these tournaments.
Right.
You need guys whose job it is to go out and protect a lead late in games. You need the guys who are out to, kill off that third period power play against to preserve a lead or keep the game tied. You need guys like that. Cirelli and Hagel are those guys. They're the guys. Mm. You're not sending Celebrini. You're not sending Tom Wilson out there to kill penalties. And God love Tom Wilson. He's changed his game. He's changed who he is on the ice. But he's still Tom Wilson, and he's never really played at this international level. I don't understand why people have this thought process when trying to, but you know what it does? It gets clicks, it gets conversation going. That's what it does. But at the end of the day, I would be very surprised if Hagel and Cirelli are not back. And certainly what they did in the Four Nations will go a long way towards what they do. And again, if Hagel fighting Kachuk off the face-off does not earn Brandon Hagel a spot back on this team, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, good point.
Right, and Sorelli's right there. It's funny you're seeing Hagel because what's Hagel at? 17 goals.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at his goals. Oh, well, of course he is. He scores 17 goals. This tournament is not just about scoring goals.
Right.
It's just not. You need guys to do other roles, and that's what Sorelli and Hagel do for you. And that's why I'd be surprised if they're not named to this Olympic roster.
What do you got going on over the holidays, man?
A lot of work, the team will play right up until the 22nd. There's a 4-day break, and then we jump right back into games on the 27th. But, we'll have Christmas here at the house, and, we'll have good dinner, have good family, and, we'll do some fun stuff.
More spoons? Does anyone put spoons in the stocking or anything?
Well, see, I don't travel anymore.
Yeah.
So that's where, my wife had those before we got married, so that's part of it. But I don't travel as much anymore. So it's only when we go somewhere together, which isn't often out of town, is the only time that the collection gets added to.
How do you find spoons? Like
souvenir shops.
They just have spoons?
Yeah, they're souvenir spoons.
Souvenir spoons.
Right. So you go to Iceland, go to some of the gift shops at some of the places, and they have souvenir spoons from Iceland. See if I'll pull one down here for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time. Wow.
So you see that? That's a Viking ship, right? So this is from.
Wow.
It says Iceland on it, so it's just a souvenir spoon.
Wow.
Right. It's like a T-shirt or anything else you buy from someplace. It's just a shoe. And the cool. I'll pan the camera up. That top one up there.
Oh wow.
That's Prince Edward Island.
Okay. PEI.
So when I had a chance to go up there and do a story on Brad Richards a number of years ago, my wife went with me. We kind of turned it into a little bit of a mini opportunity to kind of explore stuff. And we found that spoon holder at a flea market or something else. And that's pretty cool. That's, the design of PEI. So yeah, that's what that is.
Unbelievable. What do we got up on lightninginsider.com, buddy?
Oh man. If anybody checked out my mentions yesterday,
oh boy.
I talked exactly about the lack of honor and lack of within the code that the Panthers refuse to play with. So that's up there. I know certainly from Lightning fans, it's gotten a good response. I know Dave Michigan and Greg were talking about it on their show yesterday as well. So if I pissed off Panthers fans, I did something right. Buddy.
Yeah, you did.
Right. So that's up there. So I encourage people to kind of read that and what the code is all about and how and why the Panthers don't play within it. It's so that's from the game the other night. And, if again, other freelance, a lot of stuff I have to juggle this time of year. There'll be some updates on the injury situations we talked about at the start of practice.
Lightninginsider.com. Use that promo code JNZ. Get $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring season after that. You're looking for something to get your favorite Lightning fan for Christmas? How about a subscription to lightninginsider.com? It is definitely a great gift and well worth it. Nobody's been covering the Bolts longer than our guy Double E. That's Erik Erlendsson, Erik_Erlendsson on Twitter /X. K, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Eric's been a lot of fun. We will talk to you. I'll be in New York on Sunday, so this will be our last chat for the season for 2025. I'll see you at the rink tomorrow night, and maybe we'll talk to you on Friday for the reveal of our top 20 sports stars at Tampa Bay. We never know.
I'll get you my list too.
Yeah, that was my kind of roundabout way to give me a damn list, man. You're late.
Yeah. I'll get it to you.
You're the best, E. Thanks, buddy.
All right, bud. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. The host of Name That Spoon, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, the best. Again, man, this is, I can't tell you and stress enough, support local. Watching the Raise the Flags documentary and seeing how many, stuff from the Tampa Tribune and the Tampa Bay Times and just all the writers, and to see Scott Reynolds and Rick Stroud and Ira Kaufman and Ian Beckles and all these locals, like that's what you want, man. You want to support the local, and our guy E, man, he's been covering it forever. And this is, again, David Terry, thank you very much. Another favorite segment of mine. It doesn't get better than Erik Erlendsson. And, I'll mention this. I'm not necessarily taking credit, but one of the best things I think I ever did was befriend Erik to talk Lightning hockey, but also to have him on the show, whether it was Ron and Ian, whether it was with Beckles and Recher, or here on the podcast. I mean, the music stuff that we used to do, like Ron Diaz was a very particular dude, man. He was a very particular guy. He either liked you or he didn't like you. And if he liked you, he really liked you. And when we did the music stuff with Erik Erlendsson, he would get so, you think Erik would know this one? I got to make sure he was so into it. And he was just so happy to talk to Erik every single week. Because Ron was he was a different kind of cat, man. He really was. And he was such a big Erik Erlendsson fan. I know the big dog was as well. So, yeah, always a pleasure to have Erik on the program. LightningInsider.com, support local, as always. All right. Make sure you also support my partners here on the show, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. TheHonestHammer.com, TheHonestHammer@gmail.com. Send them an email. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast and get you a discount. It's just an unbelievable friendship that we've been able to form. Hammer, Russ, and he's been a guy that he's been supportive ever since the WDAE days. He still listens to DAE and supports those guys. He's a Team Tampa Bay guy, a USF grad. He's just an awesome dude. And when I just mentioned support local, lightninginsider.com, this is what we want to do for Honest Hammer and EverHealth as well. So Honest Hammer Custom Builders, kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations. You got a plot of land where you're looking for a new build. He can help you out. Give him a shout. 813-244-0956. They got discounts for first responders as well. EverHealth, everhealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas counties. They want to help you from the cradle to the grave. They have a sliding scale for the uninsured. They take every kind of insurance, and you can just tell when we have the conversation every single Thursday at 12:30. We'll have it tomorrow with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Everybody loves that conversation, but it's the content is great, but it's also the person. It's the guy that he is. And that's how they are at EverHealth. You walk in the door, you feel so welcome. And this is how healthcare should be. People are going back and forth and you're worried about premiums and all these different things. Man, go to EverHealth. They'll be able to take care of you and your family. They do everything there. And it's just great people to be around. Again, support local, a new age of healthcare, everhealth.org. Again, tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Bucks documentary, amazing and totally addicting. You got that right, Rolly. DT, listen to Ronnie D when he was on 95 YNF. You got that right. The Ron and Ron days. All right, we're going to finish this program today talking about the state of the quarterback play in the Sunshine State. And it's just so crazy what we're looking at right now with these three guys, because they're all so incredibly different. And we'll start with the big news today that we heard from the Miami Dolphins, that Tua Tagovailoa has been replaced as the starter of the Dolphins by Quinn Ewers. And a lot of people remember Quinn Ewers because of what he was able to do at Texas and how he was playing over Arch Manning for Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns. Now he's going to get the start this weekend, and there's probably a good chance that Quinn Ewers will be the guy that's under center against the Buccaneers in a couple of weeks. Tua is guaranteed $54 million next year. And you remember the whole Tua saga coming out of college, the injuries, but what he was able to do to come in relief in Jalen Hurts in the national championship game and beat Georgia. I mean, this was one of the really, like, he was very polarizing prospect coming out of college, because you remember they were trying to tank for Tua in Miami and they didn't tank and they didn't have the first pick, but then they still wound up with him. And there was a modicum of success. I remember that game against the Broncos where they scored so many freaking points, and you had Jalen Waddle on one side and Tyreek Hill on the other side, and whether it was Mostert or Achane or whoever he had in the backfield, like, they just did so many good things offensively where it looked like a new age offense, and it looked like Tua found a home. He found a play caller in Mike McDaniel that could accentuate his strengths and put him in a position to succeed. But then you saw some of the struggles in inclement weather. You saw some struggles against the better teams and in the postseason. This whole situation with Tua, it's crazy, because you look at, there's going to be teams looking for a quarterback next year. Are the Cardinals moving on from Kyler Murray? What happens with Tua Tagovailoa? That's a lot of money to have invested in the quarterback position. And Miami is at this point where, and I say this a lot about sports, you want to make sure that there's one voice from the owner to the GM to the head coach to your best player to the last player on your bench. And we have already seen with Miami this year that it has not been that way. They've already fired their general manager, Chris Greer. You've had Tua go up there during press conferences and kind of throw his guys under the bus. That once fruitful relationship has turned very frosty between Tua and Mike McDaniel. And I think even after just losing this last game to Pittsburgh, they were on a 4-game winning streak. And there was a lot of people that thought Mike McDaniel would have been fired by now. So the fact that he was able to kind of keep these guys together, Tyreek got hurt, you traded Jalen Phillips. I think it's something to be proud of if you're Mike McDaniel to say, hey, my guys are still fighting. Now, what does that get you at the end of the season? A worse draft pick maybe. But I think the Dolphins have probably seen enough to go like, all right, Mike McDaniel's probably the guy we're going to stick with. But we've already moved on from the GM, and we're probably going to move on from Tua. But that is a lot of money on the books. Who would try and go get Tua and put him in their offense? He's not a guy that moves around very well. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he is pretty accurate when he's firing on all cylinders. But in a day and age where you want your quarterback to make plays when things go haywire, when you can get off platform and still be able to keep your eyes down the field and make plays, and that's with your arm. And you want him to be able to make it with his legs. But we also know there's an injury history with concussions, with the knee surgery. I don't know, man. I don't know if there's a team that's going to be willing to gamble on trading for Tua and then paying him all that money. He is in a tough spot. I think everybody's in a tough spot there in Miami. Even if they say, oh, I want to move on with them. All right, that's fine. Well, now you're putting yourself in a very similar position than what we saw with the Atlanta Falcons this year. All that money invested into Kirk Cousins as your backup while Michael Penix Jr. tries to do something. Miami looks like they're heading down that same path. The Jacksonville Jaguars, on the other hand, you look at what Trevor Lawrence was able to do. One of the greatest days in fantasy football history. Trust me, I know, because he was on my team. But what Trevor Lawrence was able to do in that game, and I know it was against the Jets, but still, you got to go look at the Bucs barely scraped by the Jets. Liam Cohen going to Jacksonville, and you got to admit, if you are the Jacksonville Jaguars and Gladstone, and you brought in a guy like Liam Cohen, I think you have to be over the moon with how happy you are with year one. This is year one. They're already 10-4. They're in control of the AFC South. You got Trevor Lawrence looking like the number 1 overall pick. I mean, you go out and you get Jacoby Myers. He's fit in pretty well. You have a slew of running backs. Like, you look at this Jacksonville Jaguars team and you're like, they're only going to get better, you would think. You keep building, you keep adding those pieces. And Liam Cohen, I mean, we miss his play calling here in the Tampa Bay area, but would it be the same here? We don't know. We had this conversation the other day, but the fact that he's been able to go there and they're already at 10 wins. I saw that he's, I think, already 5th, maybe. I think he's already 5th all time in wins when it comes to coaches and Jaguars. And we know that they're one of the younger franchises in the National Football League, but still, he has put Trevor Lawrence in a position that it looks like, hey man, this guy warranted the number 1 pick. Because we knew it and we saw it. We watched the games at Clemson. You're like, damn, this guy's got it all. Coming in after Deshaun Watson, tall, he can run. He was pretty accurate. He had a good, strong arm. And then it kind of dissipated a little bit. We watched this play and we're like, I don't know. He's going to have to fix it. So what did Jacksonville do? They brought in a guy that was able to bring the best out of a guy like Baker Mayfield. And he's been able to do that with Trevor and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's why they are where they're at right now. And then finally, Baker Mayfield. We're going to talk more about Baker Mayfield here in a bit on the Beckles and Recher podcast in about 20 minutes right here from the Dignitary Cafe. But when you look at Baker Mayfield and his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he says what he says today, don't blame Todd, blame me. He hasn't been great. I don't think he's been maybe as poor. He's good. And this is why early on this week or was it Friday? Friday when I was talking about how everybody always wants to assign blame by percentages, which is, like, to me, the most completely useless conversation to have. Who cares who's more to blame and less to blame? You're all to blame. Everybody's to blame. It's on Todd Bowles for his defense because it falls on him. He's the head coach. It's on Jason Light for not fortifying this defense with enough playmakers. And it's on Baker Mayfield for not making the plays at the opportune times. It's on everybody. And with saying all that, I added, nobody is going to be harder on Baker Mayfield than Baker himself. And we already hear that. We already hear that coming from him. But I started the show today saying this, and I'm going to finish the show saying the exact same thing. It doesn't matter what Todd Bowles has to say. It does not matter what Baker Mayfield has to say. The time for talking is done. That's it. It's about your actions. It's about what you do now to change the narrative. People have written you off. People think it's over. There's no way they can win 2 of the last 3. There's no way they're going to be able to beat the Panthers. Do you blame those naysayers? Do you blame those pessimists? I don't. How can you after the shit that you just watched the last 6 weeks? But that's the crazy thing about sports, is that just when you think a team is done, just when you think a story is written, the entire script changes. The whole thing gets flipped. And that's what the Buccaneers have an opportunity to do. You're getting Kate Otten, you're getting Tyke Smith, you're getting all these. You're going to be probably as healthy as you've been all year long these next 3 games. And if I would have told you in the beginning of the season that the Buccaneers were going to be 7-7 and that all they had to do was win 2 of their last 3 with a roster that's as healthy as it's been all year after all the bullshit injuries that they've dealt with, would you take that as a Bucs fan? You probably would. That's why context is key. Because if I would have asked you that in the beginning of the season, that means you didn't watch the freaking last 6 weeks where it was an abomination. But I'm excited to see what the Buccaneers are made of. Show me. Show us. Show the fan base. All the people on the outside have written you off. All the people that have doubted you. All the people that think Baker's back to being Cleveland Baker. All right. Use that shit as bulletin board material and go out there and win 2 of the last 3 and make it to the playoffs. Now, whether they make a long postseason run and that's just another conversation for another day. You got to get there first. And once you get there, then it's anybody's ball game. But it's on the Buccaneers. Go change the narrative. Be better. No more excuses. The talking is finito. The time for talking is done. And the time for talking is done for me on this program as well. Guys, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Make sure you support local, our friends, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. And, of course, Evra Health, 17 different locations in Pinellas County, the new age of healthcare. everhealth.org for more information. Don't forget the Ever Health Institute, school where you can learn hands-on training, very similar to what I did in broadcasting school. And a big thank you to Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, joining us as he does every single Wednesday on the program. Guys, sign up for lightninginsider.com. Sign up. $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring season. If you use that JNZ promo code, support local. That's what you want to do right here during the holidays. And big show tomorrow. Back at Benchmark International Arena. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez joins us at 12:30. Eddie Encina joins us at 1:30, and we'll hear from John Cooper. Will we see Vazzy? Will we see Mack? Will we see Hagel? Will we see Dominic James? You're going to see a different team tomorrow night than you did on Monday night. That is for sure. All right, guys, make sure you keep it locked right here on the channel, the Beckles and Recher podcast. In about 15 minutes with Ian Beckles and I, we're going to talk about the Raise the Flags documentary. If you haven't seen it, Ian is all over it. That Dignitary t-shirt was looking good. We are here at the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 South West Shore Boulevard. The best kava, the best kratom in town. Make sure you come on by and lift the show up for everybody here in the Bay Area. I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you. We'll be back at noon tomorrow, I promise, right here on the Jay Recher podcast. I am gone.